Hello again from Metro Manila, the Philippines, Southeastern Asia. This is the last installment of my brief video series on some former female teachers who yielded to the temptation to have sex with one or more students and as a result were either sentenced to jail or are now on probation. This is probably the saddest one of these cases. It is the most recent one, and this particular woman was sentenced on July the 12th, 2019, to 20 years in jail. She's 28 years old, and because she had spent 1 year and nearly 4 months already in custody ever since the day when she was arrested on her way to school, apparently to teach. On March the 22nd, 2018, you can go to YouTube for her arrest video. It doesn't actually show the moment when the police officers forced her off the road to stop her car, but it does show her being there, read her rights, or a few of them already handcuffed, and then being helped by a police officer to the vehicle or the car. Also watched a video that has segments of her life, including her wedding dance, and then segments of an interview by her former principal and her last principal, Timothy Dickey, who actually recruited her into the Las Brisas Academy, that elementary school where most of these sex acts, unlawful sex acts, took place. And then also a brief segment of her interview on the day when she was taken into custody. And then I've watched the two versions of her sentencing hearing, which took place on July the 12th, 2018, as well as her lawyer, the video where her lawyer reads her prepared and not so remorseful or contrite statement, somehow trying to lay a part of the blame on that 13-year-old boy whom she groomed into having sex with her. So Miss Zamora, because she will be given credit for the nearly 16 months she spent in custody before being sentenced, will therefore be eligible for parole in 2038, which means that she will already be 47 years old. And of course, her chances of finding a well-paying occupation will be rather limited. Obviously, because she will have to register as a sex offender for the rest of her life, and she will also be on probation for the rest of her life. In other words, she cannot commit any kind of unlawful act towards people under 18. If she does, she will automatically be taken back into jail. It means that she will have to choose an occupation where she cannot, under any circumstances, come into contact with minors. So I'm not sure if she would be allowed to be an informal teacher to fellow adults. She, according to her lawyer, has already started to teach fellow prisoners reading and writing, at least. And she reportedly has already tried to apply for education, distance learning education from her prison, so that she can, or the prison where she was held in custody, so that she can earn a degree while being a prisoner. So we have a very sad case of a bright young female teacher who threw away, for those moments of illicit sexual pleasure, not just her teaching career, at least teaching anyone formally who is below 18 years old, and probably she will not even be allowed to privately tutor anyone who is below 18 years old, but also throwing away the most productive years of her life, which she will have to spend in prison. The angry statement by the main victim's mother or stepmother that she wishes that Zamora will never have children of her own is a rather redundant one, because since she's registered as a sex offender, I don't even believe that her husband will be allowed to have intimate sexual contact with her while she's in prison, let alone her being allowed to have intimate sexual relations with another inmate. And she most likely, for her own safety's sake, and actually because of her own preference, will be kept in solitary confinement. In other words, having no cellmates. She complained about her small stature, well, trying to earn a reprieve so that she would at least have been released on bail, but due to her crime's severity, she was denied bail, claiming that she would be torn apart in jail. But as the police officer was questioning her, wisely informed her she could voice that kind of threat to someone, and if she was having problems with a fellow prisoner, she could be kept in solitary confinement. Uh, and this was not an ordinary teacher, at least according to her resume or curriculum vitae. She reportedly had graduated with a high grade point average from Arizona State University. And at her second last school, during the academic year 2015 to 16, she had supposedly been named the Teacher of the Year. And she even claimed that she had been named the Teacher of the Month in March 2017, which of course makes it all the more saddening and shocking of how this could happen. Well, since I happen to believe in the reality of sin, in the reality of the human being's sinful nature, this can happen. If it can happen to even pastors, evangelists, missionaries, and other ministers of the gospel, and even in the so-called Bible-believing churches, denominations, fellowships, movements, and organizations, it can surely happen even at schools. Of course, this doesn't mean that every single teacher, or even most of them, are potential sexual offenders. No, a great majority are able to resist these temptations, but a minority still succumb to them. My theory is that Mrs. Zamora was made into a starkly and shockingly warning example by giving her that 20-year sentence, which only will be reduced by the time she already served in custody before being formally sentenced, after having pled guilty at last to all the charges. So that the number of